The world's most famous supercar wasn't born from passion, and it wasn't born from a desire to make money. It was born from spite. In the early 1960s, Enzo Ferrari was the untouchable king of the automotive world. If you were rich, famous, or powerful, you drove a Ferrari. Enter Ferruccio Lamborghini, a wealthy tractor mechanic who spent his fortune on a brand new Ferrari, only to find out it was broken. The clutch kept failing. And when Ferruccio drove to the factory to offer some friendly advice from one mechanic to another, the king spat on his face. Enzo told him,
"You may be able to drive a tractor, but you will never be able to handle a Ferrari."
That was a mistake. Ferruccio went home, not to fix his tractor, but to build a machine that would destroy Ferrari at his own game. This is the story of the ultimate revenge. To understand the insult, you have to understand the man. Ferruccio Lamborghini was born into a family of grape farmers, but his hands were made for steel, not soil. During World War II, he served as a mechanic in the Italian Air Force. He learned how to improvise, taking broken scraps of military vehicles and turning them into working machines. When the war ended, Italy didn't need tanks. It needed food. So Ferruccio took leftover military engines and transformed them into high-quality tractors. He didn't just succeed, he dominated. By the late 1950s, Lamborghini Trattori was an industrial empire. Ferruccio was one of the richest men in Italy. And like any wealthy tycoon, he loved fast cars. He bought Mercedes, Jaguars, Maseratis, and finally, the crown jewel, the Ferrari 250 GT. But there was a problem. He loved the Ferrari's engine, but he hated the mechanics. He felt the car was too rough, too loud, and worst of all, the clutch kept burning out. Ferruccio had to take his Ferrari back to the factory repeatedly for repairs. Eventually, the mechanic in him took over. He decided to fix it himself. When he disassembled the Ferrari's transmission, he was shocked. He recognized the clutch. It wasn't a piece of high-end racing tech. It was a standard commercial clutch, the exact same component he used in his own tractors. The only difference? Ferrari was charging 10 times more for the privilege of the brand name. Ferruccio wasn't just annoyed. He felt scammed. He realized that the king of cars was cutting corners. And he was going to tell him about it. Ferruccio was a man of action. He didn't write a letter. He drove straight to Maranello to meet the commendatore himself. Now, you have to understand, in the 1960s, Enzo Ferrari was treated like a god in Italy. Nobody criticized him. He was known for his temper. He famously said,
"The client is not always right."
But Ferruccio wasn't intimidated. He was a fellow industrialist. He thought they could talk shop. The meeting was short, and it was intense. Ferruccio told him,
"Your cars are rubbish. The clutches break because you use cheap commercial parts. I can tell you how to fix them."
Silence filled the room. Enzo Ferrari turned purple. He wasn't hearing advice. He was hearing an insult from a peasant. Enzo looked him up and down and delivered the line that would change automotive history forever.
"Let me make cars. You stick to making tractors."
Ferruccio was kicked out. Most men would have been humiliated. They would have sold the car and moved on. But Ferruccio? He was energized. As he walked out of that office, the plan was already forming in his head. If Enzo wouldn't build the perfect car, Ferruccio would build it himself. Not to make money, but to prove Enzo wrong. He returned to his tractor factory, gathered his family, and announced, "We are going to build a sports car. And we are going to beat Ferrari." Ferruccio moved fast. He bought a plot of land in Sant'Agata Bolognese, just 25 minutes away from Ferrari's headquarters. It was a deliberate move. He was setting up camp in the enemy's backyard. But he needed talent, and luck was on his side. Just a year earlier, Enzo Ferrari had fired his top 5 engineers in an event known as the Palace Revolt. The leader of these outcasts was Giotto Bizzarini, the genius who had actually built the Ferrari GTO. He was brilliant, he was unemployed, and he hated Enzo Ferrari. Ferruccio hired him immediately. But the contract they signed was unusual. It wasn't just a salary. It was a bounty. Ferruccio agreed to pay Bizzarini a bonus for every single unit of horsepower his engine could produce over the equivalent Ferrari engine. The goal wasn't to match Ferrari. It was to humiliate them. Bizzarini went to work creating a V12 monster. And he succeeded. The engine he built produced 360 horsepower. It was significantly more powerful than anything Enzo had on the road. They put this engine into the first car, the 350 GTV. It was quieter, smoother, and faster than a Ferrari. But it was missing one last thing. A badge. Ferrari had the prancing horse. Ferruccio needed something stronger. Something that could trample a horse. He chose his zodiac sign, Taurus. The raging bull. It was perfect. It was aggressive, powerful, and stubborn, just like Ferruccio. From that day on, almost every car Lamborghini made would be named after a famous fighting bull. The message was clear. These cars weren't for racing tracks. They were for the fight. But having a great car wasn't enough. They needed to shock the world. And in 1966, they dropped a nuclear bomb on the car industry. While Ferruccio was happy beating Ferrari on comfort, his engineers wanted more. Behind his back, working late into the night, they started a secret project, codenamed P400. Their idea was radical. At the time, all road cars had the engine in the front like a horse pulling a cart, but race cars had the engine in the middle. The engineers asked, why not put a race car engine inside a road car? They built the chassis first. When they showed it at the 1965 Turin Auto Show, it was just a naked frame with a massive engine. But people went crazy. They were placing orders for a car that didn't even have seats yet. Then they gave it a body. Designed by Marcello Gandini, the Lamborghini Miura was unveiled at Geneva in 1966. It didn't look like a car. It looked like a spaceship that had landed in Italy. The impact was instant. Overnight, every Ferrari on the road looked 10 years older. Enzo Ferrari had famously said,
"The horse pulls the cart. It doesn't push it."
The Miura proved him wrong. The press didn't know what to call it. It was too fast to be a sports car. So, a journalist coined a new word just for this vehicle, the supercar. Frank Sinatra and Miles Davis bought these supercars. If you were a rock star, you didn't want the gentleman's Ferrari anymore. You wanted the bad boy's Lamborghini. Ferrari was forced to play catch-up. The tractor mechanic had done the impossible. He hadn't just built a better car, he had dictated the future of the entire industry. Lamborghini didn't stop with the Miura. They followed it up with the Countach, the car that was on every teenager's bedroom wall in the 1980s. The rivalry pushed both companies to be better. Without Lamborghini, Ferrari might have stayed complacent. Without Ferrari, Lamborghini wouldn't exist at all. As for Ferruccio, he proved his point. In the 1970s, he sold the company and retired to his estate to do what he loved most, farming and making wine. He passed away in 1993, but his legacy is written in asphalt. He showed the world that a tractor mechanic could outdesign the King of Italy. Today, the raging bull stands equal to the prancing horse, a monument to the power of spite. But now I have to ask you, if you were given the keys today, which one are you taking? The refined Ferrari or the rebellious Lamborghini? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching and do subscribe. I'll see you in the next business story.